Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome to Fights with Friends. I am Stephen Kepfer, your co-host for the evening.
And I am Paul Veracci, your other co-host.
I don't know why I say evening. They could be listening to this in the morning.
No, or the afternoon.
Yeah, who knows? But welcome to the show, folks.
We're glad
This
to
is awesome.
have you.
Dude, let me read. I'm going to read you something right off the bat.
Please
Paul.
do.
Yeah. With those words, we begin one of the most intense shootouts ever put to film. It's 11 minutes long. Dozens of chaotic events piling on top of each other in real time. And as you know, we're talking about the Watertown battle in Patriots Day.
What an amazing, amazing battle.
Yeah.
They weren't far off from the description.
And so for what I just read was actually a note from the screenplay. Like they literally told everybody, this is going to be a long-ass battle, and we're going to try and match it to the exact 11 minutes that it took in real life.
Yeah.
Like moment for moment. That's crazy.
Yeah. And our guest is going to help us go through
Yes.
some amazing stuff.
Cliff Moylan.
Yeah.
Friend of 15 years.
Friend of 15 years. And I'm just going to apologize right now because I kind of sometimes tended to forget I was in an interview when I was talking to Cliff.
Yeah, you know, when we do these shows, we try to not go into like bro zone and just start talking with each other.
It was hard with Cliff. I've known Cliff for 15 years, so
yeah.
You've known him for longer.
Yeah.
It was tough.
Cliff is an amazing guy, but he plays Sergeant MacLellan in the movie, and he is literally the deliverer of the most iconic line in the whole movie.
Yep. I'm not even going to say it.
No.
We're not going to say it. We're going to wait for Cliff to say it.
We'll let Cliff say it.
We're going to let Cliff say it.
Yeah. But it's great. I remember when he was on this film, I got a text from him, and he was like, Steve, I've never seen more bullets, explosions, shell casings, madness at one time ever in my life. It's an insane shootout. We have it linked to the show notes. We have the theatrical version of the fight linked. We also have the ABC News. They did a piece on the with the actual cops that were involved in the firefight. So we have that link there too. And it's really cool. If you watch both of those before you listen to the interview, you will see how close to reality this fight is. I mean, when you see the film of them throwing pipe bombs and shit blowing up, that really happened.
And the car's going up in the air.
Yeah, that is not Hollywood. And you watch that ABC News thing, and you hear the police radio saying they're throwing dynamite at us. And you hear explosions going on in the background. It's crazy.
Well, the most, for me at least, the coolest thing was when the matching of the security footage.
Yes,
that was really cool.
They put real life security footage in the film, and it's just it's a masterful thing. Peter Berg makes some great films.
Yeah, and he does. He's one of my favorites. There's just, I don't know. He's like Zack Snyder. I love Zack Snyder. Some people love him. Some people hate him. I love Peter Berg.
Dude, when I rewatched the movie for this episode, I ain't gonna lie. The opening bombing scene at the Boston Marathon. For those who haven't seen it, this movie is about the bombing at the Boston Marathon, and it definitely made me cry. 100%. I'm sitting there on the couch with my wife. My wife's punching me like, why'd you make me watch this movie? I'm sitting here crying.
It's the middle of the day. I'm watching it on a Friday. My wife walks in. She's working from home. She walks in and got like tears running down my face. Like, what?
Yeah. And if you go watch the movie, if you haven't seen it, or if you rewatch it, if you have seen it a long time ago, you'll see a lot of faces that are now more famous than they were.
Names.
Mrs. Maisel. Mrs. Maisel is in there. The marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Anyway, yeah, we can't wait to dive into this interview with Cliff. But before we do,
what else you got going on? What else have you got going on? I mean, besides sitting down and watching movies for this amazing show.
Well, we've been off we took the month of August off, so
we did.
We haven't recorded an episode in a while. I did get to work on a new show here in the city. I can't mention, but it is actually, ironically, by the showrunners of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Huh?
Same people.
Very cool.
And
what's it like backstage on one of those shows?
Right? Well,
you know.
Thank you for asking. Thank you for asking.
What's that like?
Backstage. Yeah, actually, so we were shooting at the New Jersey Arts Center, this big theater. It was a ballet scene. And it was a very low impact stunt day. We were just playing like audience members that are getting trampled, right? And through a not even trampled, they don't even, just pushed over, knocked over. We're just doing ND stuff, right? So, but holding was the lobby of the theater. But the New Jersey Art Center also has an outdoor theater, which is literally on the other side of a glass wall of the lobby of the indoor theater, right? So you've got basically outdoor theater, indoor theater separated by a glass wall. We're hanging out and holding, and there's a DJ playing outside. It was a long day. It was like a 14-hour day. DJ playing outside in the daytime. We're like, oh, this is great, because they had like people dancing and hanging out outside and stuff. Then, like towards the evening, this track comes on, and I'm like, "Oh man, I love this track." It was KRS-One. They're playing a KRS-One track, and all of a sudden, I hear the voice, and I'm like, "This is not a track." We look out the window. We are literally backstage to a KRS-One concert. KRS-One was doing a concert in an outdoor venue, and we're right on the other side of the glass. I got to
That's so awesome.
Sit in holding, getting paid to hang out in a tuxedo with friends watching KRS-One backstage.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, that's like my Paul McCartney story.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I don't know if I've told it, but basically
You told it, but
did I?
You could tell it again.
Nah, it's all right.
No, I tell it.
Okay, I'll tell it.
Tell it.
So basically, I'm a sous chef. I was working for Jimmy Buffett, and they were doing a big fundraiser for Hillary Clinton, and I was the chef of the thing. And as I'm prepping, I hear, "Hey Jude" being played behind me, and it was like a really, really good version. And I'm like one of those people that like the song should never, ever, ever be covered by anyone. And I looked at my sous chef, and I was like, "Man," I was like, "This is really good, dude." I was like, "Who did they get to come and play this?" He just looks at me. He's like, "Dude, are you fucking serious?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Bro," he's like, "Paul McCartney on stage 50 feet behind you." And I just turned around, and there was Paul McCartney and his band. I got to cook for him that night. And
yeah, and the first thing you did was take a video and send it to me and basically be like, "Fuck you, dude, look what I'm doing right now." I was like, "You asshole. I'm jealous." Yeah. Oh my God. So, you know what, Paul, what do Jinja Ninja Stunts and Jazz Magi have in common?
There are YouTube commentators.
Yes, they commented on our YouTube channel.
2 points.
Yeah.
I'm winning.
We love you guys on YouTube.
Thank you so much, guys. We love our YouTube commentators.
The subscriber numbers are going up.
Interacting with the people that listen to us, it's great. So, ask us questions. We love, and we'll respond. We'll bring you, and we'll also mention you on the show.
Yeah, totally, man. We appreciate you watching, but we also really appreciate your feedback and your comments and taking the time to do that. And YouTube is cool because we can get right back to you.
Absolutely.
It's not like some other portals where you don't have that opportunity to engage with listeners and viewers of the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and then,
totally.
Speaking of things we had going on, we got some great things coming up. We have the Art of Movie Making Film Festival.
Oh yeah, we're sponsoring them, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah.
And this is great. So this is like, for me, this is what a film festival should be. This is praising the engine that makes a movie. This is for best stunt performance, visual effects, FX, props, makeup, puppet design, all of the things that keep the wheels turning, that that makes the whole movie itself. These little pieces, and sometimes they just, I'm not going to say they get overlooked. I mean, they have these categories and a lot of other things, but it's nice to have a festival that's dedicated to only that, not including the acting portion.
Yeah. There's no best picture. There's no best actor. There's none of that stuff. It's all the crafts people involved that are like, contributing to this organism that is a filmmaking, so we will actually be having the winner of the best stunt performance on the show next year. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that.
That is pretty cool.
It's kind of a gamble. We don't know who's going to win,
but
we'll see. You'll be on the show.
Yeah.
It's going to be good, man. So the festival runs from June 21st and 22nd next year. And if you want to submit a film, if you're a filmmaker out there or a performer that was in a scene You can submit just a scene. You don't have to submit a whole movie. Like if it's stunt performance, you can just submit that scene. Hit up Film Freeway. We put the link in our show notes, and you can check out the requirements to submit to this festival. But it's a great festival. I had a blast this year in their 3rd annual one, and next year will be their 4th annual festival. So
Awesome.
Definitely check it out, man. And speaking of films, we have our first live event.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun, man.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about this.
Our friend Preston
Yeah.
Thomas.
Yeah, man. Oh, dude. Preston's a really good grappler, dude.
He is.
He is. I mean, he's a director. He's a filmmaker. The movie we're going to be screening at our first live event is his second feature. It's his first documentary. But we've messed around with him on the mat. I'm just going to say he's a strong motherfucker.
Yep.
He's really fucking strong. And he's really good. He's making a name for himself now in the grappling circuit. He trains under Gokar Chavichin and our friend Hugh Fitzgerald. Out in L.A. Awesome dude. But his documentary is about that intersection between martial arts, most specifically grappling.
Yes.
And stunts and film.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really cool documentary with some great interviews with some really legendary people. We're really psyched to screen it here in New York City for the first time.
Yeah, for sure. And the other great thing is in that documentary is one of our sponsors, Breakball Studios.
Oh, yes, us. We're in there.
We are in there. That's right.
Totally. So, yeah, just a little plug.
Just a little plug
for ourselves. Us. Yeah. But before we move on to, stroking our own egos.
Yes, let's stroke the egos of our other amazing stunt sponsors.
Or even before that, our Patreon members will get to go to this live event for free.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
All of our Patreon members, you get a free ticket.
Yeah.
And you get to come and see.
If you're not a Patreon subscriber, get on it. You can come hang out with us at Stewart Cinemas in Brooklyn.
See the New York premiere.
Walk the red carpet with us. Hang out at the after party. It's going to be a fun time. So please check out our Patreon. Links in the show notes. Even if you join at $1 a month, that gets you a free ticket. It's kind of like not cost. The cost benefit analysis there is not great for us, but we don't care.
Yeah.
Even if you just kick in $1 a month, we're happy. And you get a free ticket to this live event. But if you join at the $20 event,
you get a free custom enamel pin.
Yeah, you'll get a pin.
Fights with Friends enamel pin.
Which we just were pricing. So we will have them soon.
Yes.
In hand.
And you could say that they're limited edition.
So,
yeah. Gotta make it exclusive.
Everything's exclusive.
It's the collector in me.
We'll probably have to, for the next run of pins after we're out of these, we'll probably have to make a different one.
Absolutely.
They won't be the same.
No.
The season 2 pin will be different than the season 1 pin.
Maybe the season 2 logo will be different.
Yes, you heard it here first, folks. We ain't quitting after season 1.
No.
But we can thank our sponsors for that. That we even have a season 1.
That we even have a season 1. Guys,
yes,
thank you so much.
Man.
Holy moly. Stunt Contact.
Yeah, Stunt Contact. We love you. You're awesome. They just really support us. I mean, obviously they financially support us, which is great, but they really support us even out there on the internet. They share our stuff. They comment on our stuff. Yeah, they're really, really, really active in supporting the show. Yeah. So we're super thankful of Stunt Contact and Noel Kim, the owner of Stunt Contact. So definitely check out in the show notes if you need a good breakdown service. If you're a stunt performer, you want to know what's going on, who's hiring, where, this is the place to go. 100%.
Absolutely. Fight or Flight Entertainment.
Yeah, Brett Copes, man.
Brett Copes. One of our other sponsors. We love Brett. Fight or Flight Entertainment. I mean, that's where you need to go if you want to learn how to fly. Any type of rigging, up, down, left, right, running up walls, sliding on the floor.
Yeah, entertainment rigging, man. This is the dude. And he does national workshops. I mean, by the time this airs, it'll have already happened, but he's got one coming up in Portland, Oregon, in a couple weeks, sorry. And, he's doing them all over the place. And we share his workshops on our socials. So we'll have in our show notes how to get in touch with all our sponsors, but we do share a lot of their stuff. So if you follow us on social media, you'll get it. Nice. You'll find it.
And let's not forget Tactical Black.
Oh, yeah, Tactical Black. You want to know how to look good holding a firearm?
And do it safely?
Yeah.
Tactical Black's the way to go. And not just look good. Yeah, actually teach you how to shoot properly. You'll go to a range. You'll understand the workings of a firearm. So it's not like, they give you a Fisher Price toy and run you through a house, and you're not shooting. They show you how to shoot.
You know, I was thinking about this the other day, like with all the talk about firearm safety.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard people say, like, well, even if they're using resin guns or whatever, and you maybe correct a performer, like, yo, treat that like it's real,
Mm-hmm.
with respect. They don't always understand why
Mm-hmm.
until you get them on a range and have them shoot a real gun.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like, oh my God, yes, now I understand.
Yep.
And I would say, if you're a performer, even if you're not into learning how to shoot guns or anything, I think there's a value, at least getting out on the range once with a professional and feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to have a connection on set, right? Like, oh, this is why I treat this prop the way I do.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need to do that, and you should, Tactical Black in LA is awesome. They do offer workshops elsewhere, even in the UK. They've taught in the UK. We've hosted them here at Breakfall Studios. Definitely check them out. They're great. They're awesome. Speaking of Breakfall Studios, should we stroke our egos now?
Again?
Yeah, why
yes,
not?
Always.
Yeah, totally. As you see behind us, our studio. We rent it out. If you need a place to do auditions and you're coming to New York City, you need a place to rehearse. You need someone to teach your actor how to do stuff. You need a place to shoot previses.
You want to train an actor?
Yeah.
Hit us up.
Hit us up, man. Definitely hit us up. You can hit us up on Instagram at Breakfall Stunts or Fighting with Friends Pod at gmail.com is our email. You can hit us up.
That's right.
And if you do hit us up, let us know if you want to be on the email list. We'll add you to that too.
Or you can just support us
wherever we are. Yeah. Oh my God.
I just had my own mini stroke.
Support us. Give us love wherever, man. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Is that what you were going to say?
Yep.
You sure?
Yes. I'm pretty sure.
Look, we're everywhere on social. Fights with Friends Pod, right? At Fights with Friends Pod. Instagram, Facebook, you name it. We're everywhere. So just look us up. Show us some love. If you can review us, review us.
Yep.
If you can rate us, rate us. If you can comment, comment.
Likes,
whatever
follows,
you can do.
Whichever platform you use, whatever it is, the thumbs up is what we're looking for.
Yeah, totally. I mean, seriously though, like we're not charging. Our shows aren't behind a paywall. We're not charging anything. So any kind of love you can show us would be great. And if you do decide to subscribe to the Patreon and support us there, you will get advanced access to the episodes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll come out. You'll get the Friday before.
Yeah. We let you get it. Yeah. We drop the Patreon ones on Monday. The public one drops on Friday. Yeah. But show us some love wherever we are, man. I think it's
time to get into the episode. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's bring in Cliff.
Come on, Cliff. What's going on, buddy?
Welcome to Watertown, motherfucker.
Welcome to Watertown, motherfucker.
The best line in the fucking movie, dude.
Dude,
it didn't need to be that way either. It just kind of happened by accident. We'd been filming at that point. We'd been filming for about a month. We were entirely nocturnal. We were like not getting any sleep, living on Red Bull.
Yeah, because that line is not in the sides that you sent us.
No. Peter Berg came up to me like 5 a.m. and said, "All right, in this next one, I want you to lean over the fence, empty your clip, and scream, 'Welcome to Watertown, motherfucker,' at the top of your lungs." and it stuck.
Dude, it
was awesome.
It's the best. It's the best.
Yeah.
It's the line. It's the line.
You want to hear something funny? All right, so Boston.
Why do you think we're here, man? Of course we do.
by anybody's estimation, it's a tough fucking place, man. It's a tough fucking place.
Yeah.
But Watertown is like Mayberry. I mean, Watertown would be like, I don't know, Scarsdale or something. It's low crime,
Yeah. It's a burb.
Yeah.
And but you were raised in Dorchester? Dorchester,
yeah.
Dorchester.
And how's
which is funny because that's the same neighborhood where Mark Wahlberg's from.
Oh wow, okay.
Donnie dated my babysitter's sister. And he came over to my house and break danced on my kitchen floor.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I just did a stairfall on Blue Bloods, and he came over afterward. He wasn't even in the scene. He came over and gave me a fist bump. He's like, "Dude, that was awesome."
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, it was cool.
So who else is from Dorchester? Dennis Lehane, author of Mystic River, Shutter Island, Gone Baby Gone, also from Dorchester.
God, that guy can write. Jeez.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know how you want, this podcast be full of interesting stories, but I'll tell you something about him. Let me think. 1994, 95, my friend is 19 years old. Best friend in the world, Kevin Callahan. He gets a job at the Ritz-Carlton parking cars. And the guy who's training him is the guy that he's replacing. So he asks him one day, he goes, "Hey, man, this is a pretty sweet gig. Why are you leaving? You got something better lined up?" He's like, "No, I'm going to take some time off. I saved some money. I'm going to finish my book." We'd never heard of anybody writing a book before. So, and neither had people at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. They're like, "What the hell is his problem? He's going to leave to write a book? This is a union job. Come on, who gives up a union job to write a book?" Well, so his last day came and went. Kevin was his replacement. I think it was about 11 months later. They were still talking about that nut job Dennis who left his job to finish his book. Well, dude, that nut job Dennis became a New York Times best-selling author. With his first novel, A Drink Before the War. Dennis Lehane was the valet parker that trained my friend Kevin.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
Yeah. Want to hear another crazy story?
Yeah, let's actually bring it a little bit back because we have a lot of time to tell crazy stories,
right?
But I want to read you something. I'm just gonna say before I read this, I'm gonna say, like, when you were working on Patriots Day, I remember getting a text from you saying, "I've never seen so much firepower, explosives, shell casings, and shit laying all over." Like, you texted me like, "Holy fuck, this is massive."
It was filmed like a war scene. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm gonna read this, and then afterwards you can give us your first reactions, because we want to hear, like, how you got this and everything. But let's start with what was written on the page. So we'll start. And so for those listening, you were playing John MacLellan, right?
Sergeant John MacLellan.
That's it. You were playing the real guy, and you actually got to meet him and work with him on this, correct?
Friends to this day. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so here we go. You're John MacLellan. MacLellan watches Reynolds' cruiser turn onto Laurel Street, a narrow residential street lined with quaint houses. "Okay, light them up when you're ready." Now there's a note. This is the most awesome note. "With those words, we begin one of the most intense shootouts ever put to film. It's 11 minutes long, dozens of chaotic events piling on top of each other in real time." That's insane. So you get the size and you read this. This is going to be one of the biggest things that has ever been done in terms of shootouts.
Did you have any idea who this guy was when you were cast for this part? Did you do any research at all? Like,
tons. Yeah. I found everything there was on, I could on YouTube and, and Google searches and things like that. I did not know him as the actual event happened in real life. I just knew it was the Watertown PD, which for people in Boston, like, Watertown. I mean, so much unfolded in that time. So if we're talking about the movie, for me as an actor reading that this is the most intense shootout put to film, I'm like, first of all, that's ambitious. And second of all, hey, listen, I don't know if who's listening to this, but Paul, Steve, and I have history. We have martial arts training history. And let me think. I met Paul in 2008.
Yep.
Yeah, we've been friends a long time.
Been friends a while, dude.
In 2009. And aside from martial arts, one of the things that we have in common is a love for film, television, and literature and music. It's just a thing. It always comes up in conversation. It was a huge part of...
We went to the Fogerty concert together.
Yeah, of how we were raised. And so for me, reading that it's one of the most intense shootouts put to film, as an actor reading that...
That's a huge standard.
Well, it's like this. Thank you, fucking God. Thank you. I want this. So reading that and then reading, oh my God, like what the words after the stage direction, the lines, the course of events that transpire, you're like, oh, they're really fucking going for it. They're leaving no stone unturned. They're actually going to depict this thing. And it was one of the goals of Peter Berg was to do it in right time. I think it was like 11 minutes and 52 seconds. He wanted
Wow.
that scene to be 11 minutes and 52 seconds. And holy motherfucking shit, as you're watching it, you're like, very uncomfortable. And there's some things that happen in real life as they happen, and there's some things that were a little bit Hollywood. A lot of recreating that was pure magic, and you know, we have.
Were you at the same locations?
Talk about that.
Were you at the actual locations?
For some of it, you could not safely recreate some of that stuff in a neighborhood, so they recreated the neighborhood, which was crazy to see.
Why? Just
well,
for those who don't know, like, you know, when if you went and scouted the neighborhood, would they be like, you can't fucking do this here? Because it's crazy, you can't do it for a movie, but they did it in real life.
Yeah.
There's so before I was ever on the film set, before I even signed a contract, I sent a card to Sergeant John MacLellan at Watertown Police Station, and with my phone number on it. And you know, 4 days later, I get a call from him, and 3 days before we start filming, he invites me to do a drive around. And he showed me the actual neighborhood where it actually happened. And here's a big oak tree with still has a bullet in it. And this is where this happened. And I'd actually put eyes on ever so briefly on what he saw. You know, ever so, you know, I saw the actual neighborhood and I saw the actual community. And they had to recreate it, but you couldn't do that without. You can't be blowing shit up in people's neighborhoods. I mean, even if just for the noise,
Mm-hmm.
people need to get to sleep. So what they did is they recreated the neighborhood in an Air Force base.
What?
Yeah, man. They spared no expense. Like it was like, whoa, holy shit, this isn't the neighborhood. And then you go behind the house and it's hollow.
That was a fucking set.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
For a substantial part. Yeah.
The curbs and everything.
When they were really blowing shit up, it was
I just mean the curbs and the sidewalk. Like, that's amazing.
No, the driving part was actually in a neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
the driving part was actually in a neighborhood. Yeah. Let's not get carried away. I mean, but let me think. I think we filmed about 5 weeks. I did not always film in that time. There was a couple days where I wasn't scheduled to be there and that, but
Right.
they really, I mean, CBS Films whipped up the checkbook, and it was a very eye-opening experience for me. The impression I got was these were the best and the brightest in Hollywood, and I heard some of the other movies that the regular crew were working on, and one of the other ones is a lot of them had to leave early because they were going to do the new Transformers movie, and I worked with some legends. I mean, in special effects and stunts and.
Well, you actually had a stunt double, Matt Shadden.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't. Yeah, that's one. I think you know that I edit the stunt memorial for the Television Academy, and
Really?
yeah. I've been doing it. Yeah, he was in it. Not that we do one for each department, but when I was looking through the, it's not the main one that goes up on the televised show, but each department has an opportunity to do it. But Larry Rosenthal, who's actually going to be on the show soon, he's the one of the co-governors of the stunt peer group in the Academy, and he's been doing the stunt memorial for the Academy for about 15 years, 10 or 15 years. And I jumped on about 5 years ago as the editor for it. So I knew Matt Shadden's name the minute I saw it on the credit list. I was like, oh, wow.
He was he showed me the ropes for sure. I mean, I hardly knew anything, and he showed me the ropes. He was very patient with me, and he knew how to read the call sheet and the set. He's in the set list and the call sheet, and to tell me what was actually going to happen that day, which might as well have been reading hieroglyphics for me. And he was an inspiring dude. He born and raised in Arkansas. I guess he was a black belt in Tang Soo Do in his early life, and never knew any stunt people. wasn't exposed to it and just said, "Hey, man, I'm going to LA and be a stuntman," and somehow, some way, he made it happen.
Yeah, man. Super talented. Super
Yeah,
talented. Very
and it was
sad.
because he could do a lot of athletic things you would not think someone of his build could do. I mean, he looks like an Olympic powerlifter. He's a really big guy, but he could flip up in the air and do all these acrobatic kicks and.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's pretty amazing when you see those big guys able to do that.
Yeah, totally.
That are
Oh,
like
yeah.
pushing like 200 pounds. That
Yeah.
like just fly through there. Evan Taylor's like a big guy.
Yeah.
And man, the way he can do shit in the air, and I'm just like, how the fuck do you do that, bro?
Yeah.
Like, how do you make it look like you don't weigh what you weigh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was like a fucking feather. And it was also good to have a buddy on the set. I met a lot of lifelong friends there, but there was a lot of ego and a lot of attitude there. And
What set doesn't have that?
Okay,
And
a
he
lot
was
of ego and a lot of attitude. When you say that,
he was so humble.
but where? Everywhere, or was it anywhere specific? Was it like coming from? Where was it coming from?
I guess most.
Or would you just say it was kind of the atmosphere? Because it was just such a big thing, and they brought in all the heavy hitters, and everyone was just kind of like,
yeah.
Word. That's got to be tough.
I mean, it wasn't the first time I'd been in a big movie. Money Monster was almost to the day a year before that. It was all of a New York.
You did The Irishman too, right?
That came after.
Hmm.
Yeah, but when you're working in New York with a New York crew, you can't be too cocky because I mean these guys are all crusty old union guys, and sooner or later, doesn't matter who you are, could be the biggest star in Hollywood. Some old teamster or somebody old stagehand's gonna be like, dude, you can't act like that.
Right.
Shit.
Yeah.
This was an almost entirely LA crew in Boston, and Boston, as wonderful it is as it is, they still were filmmaking was new to them. It was it was like, hey, the circus is in town. These are special people, so they could throw the weight around a little bit until I don't know. It's a lot of nuance in the conversation, but
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know, Hollywood people.
That's all you need to say. That's all you need to say, dude.
That's all I need to say, man.
Yeah.
When you were shooting, you mentioned that you did stuff, obviously on a stage, that was at the Air Force base, and then you did other things, on location. How many of those things that when you watch the film were actually intercut to make it look like the same place?
Okay, so the precinct scene that was exactly the same place.
Okay.
But
like, so when you were going through the neighborhood, right, and you get out of the car, right, you're driving through the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
You said a lot of the driving stuff wasn't in the.
Yeah, that was
on the stage. So when you're doing the driving, I guess what I'm wondering is at what point are you driving, and then at what point are you now on stage, or did you actually have enough of the stage set up to where you did that small little bit of driving in the cars?
The driving in the cars was entirely in neighborhoods.
Okay.
None of that was fake. Some of it was controlled with some cars in between and
right.
Sure, safety cars and.
So did you ever shoot things out of order and like while you were shooting, you're just like, oh wait, this is the scene I drove to in the other neighborhood, and you're like, and then you kind of like as you're in the middle of it, you kind of put it together. Because sometimes when I shoot things, like when I was on The Walking Dead, everything would kind of be shot out of order. The episode would be shot right, but the things would be shot out of order, and then all of a sudden I'm like, what the? And then I'm like, oh, I was like, this is before like the first thing I did was I got killed, right, and whatever. So then. We did everything else before I got killed after that. And I had to figure out in my head the order of how it was going to play out like in the episode. And I still have no idea. So I guess what I'm trying to say is because you did certain things in one location and certain things in another, was everything shot in order? Or like as you're shooting it, did you realize you're like, oh, this is what I drove up to over there?
There was only one time where that happened when I get the call over the radio. And what did I say? I said Baker 1, 2, 3 or some shit like that.
Right.
I'm turning around now. That was done in the third week of filming, and that was supposed to be the first time, time they see me for that scene.
Right.
That being said, everything else was filmed in order, which I know rarely happens. I'm trying to think if they even did that. If there was any out of sequence stuff in that movie at all. It seemed like they filmed in order for the most part. I could be wrong.
So now you're in this. You're on the stage. You're doing this massive shootout,
Mm-hmm.
right? That you were like you just said, you were praying like, thank God I get to do this amazing thing.
Oh.
Yeah. So what were the steps? Like, even with all the firearms and stuff, what safety precautions did they train you? Did they talk to you? Like, you worked with the actual Sergeant MacLellan. Talk about that whole thing, because you said like not Wahlberg. Peter Berg was trying to make it exactly the same time frame, 11 minutes and change.
Mm-hmm.
How much rehearsal? Like, what went into all that?
What went into it is a lot of use your imagination. I'm not going to babysit you kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they were polite about it, and their safety was always the precaution. But we had the special effects and the stunt guys coaching us every step of the way. So by the time they yelled action, it was just we were wound up and programmed to do exactly what they wanted us to do, and it was an education.
What
The
was the
day
long?
the day I started, I didn't know shit. The day we finished, oh yeah, man. I could tell you what something was, and it was hot. I could tell you. Um, I don't know, like all the lingo,
Yeah.
and a lot of time was spent preparing and being told what to watch out for. This is how you want to land. You don't want to go right on this situation because there's going to be explosives over here. If you don't feel safe, say this word, stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
they couldn't have been any nicer. And it was truly an experience.
And just to interrupt, like, for those listening and watching, we have the link to the fight in the show notes, and we also have a link to the ABC News story on the actual gunfight.
The comparison. The
Well, just with the interviews with MacLellan, and and just the actual footage, security camp footage, the radio calls, and when you watch the real stuff, it doesn't seem that far off from the
No.
movie stuff. I mean, they're yelling like they're throwing dynamite at us. They're blowing things up, and you can hear on the radios the explosions going on in the background and stuff.
In real life, the car might have gone 20 feet in the air. In the movie, the car went 50 feet in the air, but it was pretty much consistent. One thing that was definitely different, there was a neighbor that came out to talk to John MacLellan and said, "What the fuck is going on?" They gave that role to Ken Casey from the Dropkick Murphys, and he threw a sledgehammer out.
Yeah, here's a mini sledge.
In real life, that the mini sledge wasn't a real thing. What actually happened was Sergeant John MacLellan ran out of bullets, and he was behind this big oak tree. He did not know how much ammunition the Sarnayev brothers still had, and he said to himself, "Well, I'm either going to die behind this tree like a coward, or I'm going to do something." So he took his empty gun and he ran about 50 feet, and he cracked the older Sarnayev brother, Tamerlan, in the jaw, and he just pistol whipped him with an empty gun. By the grace of God, he did not get hit with a bullet on his way over. And the shit he told me about how that actually happened. I mean, the guy was Tamerlan Sarnayev was a beast.
Yeah,
he was only a short time before he was in contention to be fighting on the U.S. Olympic boxing team.
He trained at so when this was going down, I have a lot of friends.
I wouldn't want to get punched by him.
Fighter friends in Boston, and he trained at Y Crew MMA, and then Johar, the younger brother, was the captain of his high school wrestling team, actually. And then so a lot of the guys that he trained with were training with people that I knew at Redline Fight Sports in Boston. And we'll put some links in the show notes. There's actual video out there of those guys training and wrestling and doing stuff before all this stuff happened. Like, they were known people. Yeah.
So there's things that happen in real life that I'm privy to. I know a few writers and a few law enforcement people that told me that had Tamerlan Sarnayev not been rejected by the U.S. boxing team, he might not have had a resentment toward America enough to do this, which was all very strange. There's also
Who would want a guy? No offense, but who would want I would want that guy on my boxing fucking team anyway.
But he
No,
wasn't that guy yet.
Like,
That's the thing.
no, but still, it's just
Yeah.
like, just Jesus Christ.
yeah. He wasn't stable,
Give me
and
a
it's funny
fucking
'cause
break.
he had a lot going for him. You know,
Exactly. Just because you don't get on the U.S. Olympic boxing team for
I
that
know.
to be a reason, like, give me a fucking break.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, this is all hypothetical.
no, that's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
like, give me a
Yeah,
fucking break.
yeah.
That couldn't have been it. Like,
Also, something that I heard was that there was those guys didn't act alone. That they had a friend or two that it's equally nuts, equally radicalized that helped them make the bombs.
I mean, when it comes down to the who's and the where's and the whys, there's so many, ways you can go. But the one thing that at least we have to go on is what happened in the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
And the crazy thing about the movie is just when is the fact, like, okay, so this is a weird question, or maybe it's not.
Fire away. I like
When you shot this movie, right? How long did it take you to shoot that scene? How long did it take? You said a month, right? Over a month.
So the first, all right.
I guess so. Before you even
Yeah.
answer that, I'm going to go into my whole question. Sorry, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I am.
Well, you're a dick.
But I'm
Hey,
a dick.
and also
Like,
stare at the camera.
But
Stare
like-
at the camera. Don't
So
see Paul in his dickness is
my
talking
dickness?
to the
I'm
screen
talking
of the
to Cliff.
computer and not the camera.
not the camera.
Yeah, talk to the camera.
I'm so bad at this, dude. I'm so bad at this. So my question is like the thought of the fact that it took you guys, a month to put this together. When you're thinking that these guys went through 11 minutes and 50 seconds or however long this was with no breaks, no cuts, no nothing, and just nonstop. Could you imagine what it would have been like to do a fucking one take of that scene?
Wow,
That's basically my question.
that's a great question. Not one I can answer, but it's a great question. Like the
I would have been shitting my pants because I'm gonna die in a minute. Like I would have been thinking I was gonna die. You guys, people
I guess
throwing-
I guess my question is, did you ever think about that? And you were just like completely amazed by like, holy fuck.
no, because you can't safely do that in one take.
Right. No,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying hypothetically, where you're just like, oh my
Right.
God, these guys did this straight.
But
When they
didn't-
went through this, like,
They didn't do it straight. They got thrown into it straight. It's
Well,
not
you
like
know what I
they,
mean.
Not like they planned to do it.
but that's kind of amazing. Like when you go and you think that they went through all of that in 11 and a half minutes straight, no breaks, no cuts.
I think
no-
like if I excavate your question a little bit, like
Yeah.
I'm like an archaeologist. I
Yeah, yeah.
feel like the question is, holy fuck, these guys experienced this shit for real.
for real. Yes.
In 11 minutes. How do you, as an actor now, show that? Whatever they were experiencing in those 11 minutes, how do you guys show that?
Yeah,
That
well-
fear, that,
Thank you.
like
Yes.
that, like I saw in that ABC interview, MacLellan says he fully expected to die at the end of this.
Yeah. God, there was so much that the viewer needed to see to fully understand what happened in the 11 minutes and 52 seconds or whatever it was. And there were certain things that could not be left out. And at the top of the list, the first thing that every viewer needs to see, and I think that there was portrayed pretty well, is that there was a carjacking in Cambridge where an MIT cop was killed.
Mm-hmm.
Collier.
Collier, yeah.
We were talking about that, and also just about how awesome Peter Berg is at setting up all of his extras and giving them great backgrounds throughout the movie and really making you care about those characters. He's so good at that.
Totally. And he also set the table for like, whoa, it's
Whoa.
about to fucking go down.
Because you
Yeah.
you also had no idea that was Collier
No,
until he got killed. You had no clue.
and we also okay.
I mean,
so,
you did, but they didn't but they didn't tell you outright.
so the beginning of they called it the Battle of
I mean,
Watertown.
you could read his badge.
They called it the Battle of Watertown. Right at the brink of the Battle of Watertown, I think what was portrayed very well is that to every viewer is that they thought they were pulling over a fucking carjacker. They did not know it was the Marathon Bombers.
Mhm.
And they didn't even know it was the Marathon Bombers till after it was over. So these are three guys who never fired their gun.
Mm-hmm.
You told me that today, and I didn't know that.
Not
Yeah, they
one
never
of them.
fired. Yeah, no.
Steve told me that today. I was fucking amazed.
Watertown, man. Crime in Watertown is like jaywalking, man. So they rose to the occasion. And you guys have been around the toughest guys there are as long as, for 20, 30 years. You all know that it's the toughest guys are the nicest fucking people when you're not fucking with them.
Mm-hmm.
Sergeant John MacLellan's no exception. The dude rose to the occasion. He is a bad motherfucker, but when you catch him, you know, when he's not in cop mode, he's so nice. He's like a minister at his church. He volunteers for the Big Brother, Big Sister organization. Friends to this day, beautiful human being. But man, as soon as he knew he had to do it, he did it. And one of the things that I thought was the coolest is that he knew that there was a lack of weapons between himself and his partner Reynolds. So he used the car and he launched the car at him, an empty car at him, and he hid behind the car and fired
That
before
was a
he.
great
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean the 50 foot dive, through bullet fire with an empty gun, a pistol whipped it. Tamerlan, I think he's got balls the size of church bells.
So I do have a question, because towards the end of the film, after the shootout, not after the shootout was over, but after the first Sinai brother got run over by his fucking brother, which
Yeah.
I completely forgotten when I watched that. I was like, damn, I felt like he purposely ran over his brother with a little bit of "fuck you" attached to it in that when they filmed that.
Yeah.
But were you the one arresting him with J.K. Simmons? Were you the one on his back cuffing him up? I couldn't tell because it was dark.
Yep.
It was you.
Yep.
Ah!
Yep.
Nice. So that was kind of cool. You had a nice little scene with J.K. Simmons there.
We saved Boston, and I'll tell you though, there's worse things in life than, for a younger, less experienced actor than hanging out with J.K. Simmons for 5 weeks. That guy was a gentleman. He really,
Dude,
he taught me.
I texted you last night when my wife and I were watching.
I kind of fucking hate. Like, I kind of want to walk off the interview and just say "fuck you, Cliff." Like, I'm so jealous right now.
He's one of my favorite actors.
He's awesome, dude.
Yeah,
I wish.
yeah.
And
You'd
so
like him in person too, and I'll tell you, there was a lot of van rides to set where we just talked music because he's a musician too, and big Neil Young fan, which I like.
Oh, cool, dude. So like, we were watching the movie. You know the story, and you know the story, but not the listeners don't know the story. So like, my wife and I are watching this movie. First of all, she's like, "Fuck you for making me watch this movie," because she and I,
We're all crying.
I'm crying. Like after the
Crying.
bombing scene is so intense. It's so fucking intense. I was like tearing up. I forgot how intense it was.
I just had a kid. I got a baby who's almost 2 now. So that shit with the 8-year-old,
yeah,
that fucking hit me differently, man.
It's like-
I could not hold my shit together.
And what's so weird, right? Like, so you could watch, like we were talking about it before. You watch the opening sequence to say like Saving Private Ryan, which was like getting hit with a sledgehammer, but it doesn't have the same. It's like history, You watch the bombing sequence from this movie.
Mhm.
After they've built up all these relationships with these people,
Right, and
right?
you watch them have breakfast, and you watch them kiss each other. You know what I mean? Like, that's the build up.
It was.
Peter Berg does
It
that
felt
he's so good at.
It was so real, dude. It was so real.
I was also wondering.
The shootout scene is not the only great scene in that movie.
No.
There's so many other great scenes in that movie. How many? I have a question. There were a few other scenes.
Wait. Oh, go ahead.
Well, in real life, my dad was right there while it happened. He was about a block and a half away from one of the bombs.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Sorry, Paul, you're saying?
Oh, no, I was just going to say that I feel like there were a few other scenes in the movie where I saw you. So I guess what I was wondering is the first real scene I saw your character established was, I believe, in the police station. They were giving a quick briefing and you were getting up and you were on your way out of the room. Were there any other scenes that you were kind of just in before that when you watched the movie? You're like, oh, they took me out of that. They took me out of this. They took me out of that. Because I kind of feel like that of all of the characters, that your character was kind of, I guess, because you came out in a way, you came out on top. There wasn't a lot of there was just that montage a bit left out of your character. So what I'm kind of wondering is where for you was your first scene that you shot that you were supposed to be in?
Before I'm fixing the car with J.K. Simmons, and the blinker goes on when I signal right or something like that, or the windshield goes on.
The window goes down when you turn the blinker.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
There was a scene before that with myself and another actor who I don't see anywhere else in the movie after the final cut.
Was that the scene in the police station?
Right there. Yeah, right in the
That's
park.
what I was talking about. So I guess what I was wondering is, were there any scenes that were cut or edited, before that were established that they just didn't put in? Or was that was your first shot?
Myself and another actor, they wanted to give it some Boston aesthetic, and myself and another actor got in a big fake fight and a Boston way, and it was like a debate. I forget what it was actually about, but
Was it like in the roll call room like that?
no, we were in the parking lot.
It had shades of like I felt like it had shades of like a Boston version of Hill Street Blues, like sitting in there.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The greatest theme song in any fucking TV show.
Oh, I know, it's so good. But the first real scene where we see you is the scene with the car with J.K. Simmons,
which is
Exactly.
just fucking
And
weird.
and I'm watching it with my wife, and my wife goes, "Hey, that guy beat up his super." Inside joke. Can you tell that joke? Can we tell this story?
Yeah, it's funny now, but it wasn't funny then. To Steve's credit, he's the first. That was the first phone call I made. You know, like when you're
you call me and you're like,
Steve's the type of dude you can call.
Yep. Dude, when I had my first incident with those two guys on the Pulaski Bridge, man, first call I fucking had was Steve. I was fucking hysterical.
Yeah, and the last person to serve you booze was me.
It's so funny.
That's true. Oh my god, that's really funny.
I can't give Paul food; it'll come up on the cash register, so I give him a couple drinks. I kind of regretted it after that.
And the couple of drinks will come up a different way.
So, yeah, not to say you were in the wrong, but so last December, I think it was a week before Christmas, my super and I had always been kind of cool. And then one day, I think he was drunk or in a blackout or something. He cornered me in the back courtyard here and started screaming at me. And I don't know why he was actually doing. He started screaming, "Do you want to play fucking games with me? You want to play fucking games with me?" I go, dude, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go. Just get out of my way, and we're cool. And he wouldn't move. So I'm like, dude, please, just let me go. So he finally lets me go, and I turn around, and he rushed it. Me turning around, he found that to be threatening, and he rushed at me.
Like turning your back to him?
You were turning to look back at him, right?
Like one more thing.
Oh.
And he rushes right at me. I'm like, I hit him with the short hook. This was not my Sunday best. It was just a, hey, man, this isn't a conversation at this point.
Right. Bing.
And he dropped to one knee, and I could have fucked him up. But I played the tape. I'm like, no, this is the conversation I'm going to have with my landlord now. I just knuckled the super. I give him some time, and he gets up, and he could barely walk, and he wants to fight me again. I'm like, dude, this is just bad. Everything about this is bad. So I was able to get away, and I come upstairs, and I go, what are my legal rights? I just need a voice of reason right now. And I called Steve, and he kind of straightened me out, and he's like, dude, we don't like snitches, but sometimes you just got to get a piece of paper, to protect you.
Yep.
And so sure. I went and dude, it's not the kind of thing you ask for. Kids, if you're listening, if you want to fight, go join a gym. Get yourself a mouthpiece, get yourself a cup, get your shit out there. Fighting in the street comes with a fucking bunch of headache you don't need. It's always fucking bad.
Yeah.
And the type of fighting, if I have to defend myself, it's not really going to look like boxing or wrestling or MMA. It might look like something Paul taught me.
No, it's dirty.
Dude, how can my thumb is going to bring the bitch out? In someone's eye is going to bring the bitch out of anybody.
You're not going to. You weren't going to be Sergeant Puglisi and tackle the dude.
No, I might hit him with the sledgehammer though.
Well, dude, my story when I was walking across the Pulaski Bridge. Dude, nothing bad happened to me. I'm not going to go into it, but I ended up interrupting a possible hate crime or whatever. And dude, I called fucking Steve, and I did what I did, and I called Steve, and I was fine. Nothing happened. Like I took care of it, but I called Steve. I was fucking crying. I was crying. I had so much emotion, so much adrenaline.
Oh,
like I was, and then the two guys that I helped on the way home, I basically was like, don't fucking talk to me. I'm like, I will walk you home. I'm like, please don't fucking speak to me. Like, cause I couldn't, there's just so much shit going on inside.
Yeah. And we're not little kids anymore. Hurting somebody in real life, it comes with a price that I can't quite explain, but it's not fun.
No.
No.
I realized that about cracking this dude. Dude, if I wanted to hurt him, I could have, but I just felt bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
You
for
know?
those listening that don't know, Cliff has trained boxing for a long ass time. In fact, he probably knows more about boxing than anybody I know.
Yeah,
like
me too.
history.
I will vouch for that
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
Thank
And
you.
then that's how we met too, right? You started training here. That's how we first met.
That's how we first met.
And it's been a good friendship ever since.
Mhm.
But Cliff is not a guy you want to fuck with. That's
Come
for
on.
sure.
You're the most deadly people I've ever met, Steve, and you're flattering me about pugilism.
It's
Ask
true,
ask
though.
your super.
Just ask your super.
Well, you know, it's so easy to hurt somebody, but to get out of that situation safely and without any legal repercussions,
Yeah.
it does a lot. It does a lot more to help me get a good night's sleep.
It's so funny, like when I see all these videos, these self-defense videos, and they're like, blah blah blah. They take the knife from a guy and then they stab him 5 times. I was like, that's a murder charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, but you just taught you literally just gotta caught a charge. I'm like, you can't.
Yeah.
Once you have the knife, I was like, they're not a threat anymore. You can't just fucking stab them 7 times and say, well, that was what my training told me to do.
I know.
So
And
regarding training back,
dude, they
what's
can,
that?
if you're playing poker, they can read your poker hand from a fucking satellite in space right now.
I know.
Whatever
crazy.
you did, they're gonna see it.
Yeah.
Whoever,
yeah,
you know, there's cameras everywhere. Sorry, you were saying, Steve?
No, I was going to bring it back to Paul's question because you brought up training. So, like, what was your preparation process for this role, playing Sergeant MacLellan? I mean, aside from meeting him and all that stuff, like, how did you get yourself into it? Because, I mean, dude, like, for the people listening, like Paul and I, when we got into this business as stunt performers, one of the biggest surprises was auditions, and it was like, I don't know how to fucking do anything acting wise, audition wise, whatever.
Luckily, we had a really good friend who was able to help us out with
Yeah,
that.
dude. Like,
Thank
you have been more success. I always give people credit for any audition that worked out well for me. I credit you because you're like, I consider you like my acting coach in that sense. And it's like, so how did you prepare for this role? It's like literally kind of like what Paul said, like your character was understated for most of the movie. You didn't get the same kind of build up that a lot of the other characters got. But when the shit hit the fan in this shootout, you were like the main guy.
I know.
Or one of the main guys.
Yeah, it's hard to say that with humility, but it's true.
You don't have to. We just
I'm
said
one
it. Just
I'm
nod
one
and
of the
smile.
3 guys that say Boston. I'm playing one of the 3 guys that say Boston. So how do you prepare for that, or prepare for any acting role?
No, how did you prepare for this one? At that time in your career with this type of scene and playing a real person that's still alive, that's not a historic figure, like, you know, like,
or just not a character that was created. Like, you had to play someone that people were going to look at and be like, okay, just an example of a bad portrayal. If you ever saw Black Mass, right? The guy, like either of the 2 guys that played Whitey Bulger's right hand men were both like, and I'm, one of the guys is like, dude, he goes, they made me look like I had, I looked like I had Down
Jesse
syndrome.
Plemons, and Rory Cosby.
So like,
because those guys weren't funny in real life, and they definitely they weren't underlings to Whitey. That was how Whitey's crew ran. They were all equals. You could not.
No, but I'm saying as they were portrayed, they were like, he made me look like a fucking blah blah blah. He made me look like this. He made me look like that. He made me look like this. Like I sounded like this. I was a fucking. I'm trying to use words that we're not trying to use.
So
in the podcast.
but along those lines,
with you, you're working and being a guy who's standing basically next to you.
Yeah.
Right. And you knew that. It's not like you're playing a role when these guys are like, yeah, I'm playing a role of a fucking gangster who went to jail, who I'm never going to fucking meet. Maybe he'll get mad at me. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
You're playing over a role of a guy who's going to be like, who can come up to you and be like, hey, I would never do that.
Yeah. Here's the answer. With any acting role, I'll get more specific in a second, but with any acting role, you need to surrender. Anything you do to resist what is creatively laid out in front of you, or any impulse that you have, or any impulse that you have to overthink it, you're fucking yourself up. Surrender. That voice listen to your heart, not your head. Playing Sergeant John MacLellan specifically wasn't that hard, and I'll tell you why. Because there was a lot of common ground we had to walk on. There was a lot of mannerisms. There was a lot of who we are morally that was similar. And he told me what happened. So I portrayed that with honesty. I know the culture, and I think to do something really well, you have to have fun at it. Think of the people you admire the most creatively or whatever. They're having fun. There's a lot of guitarists that are pretty goddamn good, but the best of the best, your Stevie Ray Vaughns, your Eddie Van Halens, your Jimi Hendrix, they're having a blast. The best actors, your Marlon Brandos, your Gary Oldmans, your Daniel Day-Lewis, they're truly enjoying themselves. So you just have to surrender and have fun with it. And that fun might not be ha 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 ha. This is a joyful experience. It's still work, but your fun might be enjoying that tension of having a shootout or.
Sometimes the fun is just absorbing the work and feeling it.
Thank you. You're
it
absolutely
just gives you that.
right.
It gives you that feeling of accomplishment, like after a great workout.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And then here's the final thing about doing the work. It's a movie. You got to do whatever the fuck the director tells you to.
Mm-hmm.
And there's freedom in that too. Oh, I don't have to fucking worry about it because the director made the choice for me. It's kind of it can be relieving to the right actor. And Peter Berg was pretty cool with that. He also liked to have us do long improv, which I don't know how that it got left on the cutting room floor. I had some good improv with some of the other actors, and going back to what we were saying before. While we were filming, there was a collection of chairs for guests, and the majority of those guests were either law enforcement affiliated with Massachusetts law enforcement that was affiliated with the shootout in real life, as well as the neighbors that were living in the neighborhood when the shootout happened. They were all invited to the set to watch it, the filming, which was pretty cool. And I got to talk to them and meet them, and it helped everything. But it also, we carried a responsibility to do it with integrity.
Well, it was pretty amazing that I'm just going to, at that moment, like outside of all these people and all these characters, there was also a wonderful job of literally making the city of Boston a character in this film.
Dude, I've been waiting since this morning to say that. You're absolutely right. Boston was like another character in the movie, in the collective conscious of all the citizens.
Mm-hmm.
Shutting a whole city down is not a common thing, and it could not happen in New York or maybe even Chicago for that matter. But a city the size of Boston, it could happen. And also, for that specific type, Boston people in particular, they're somewhat protective, extremely protective, of their neighborhood, and that's why I think there was a reluctance to put the pictures of the Tsarnaev brothers on the news in real life, because they knew. I mean, it would have looked like outside Frankenstein's house with pitchforks and fucking torches. Everybody would have gone looking for him.
I mean, that whole thing though, that in the movie anyway, was Wahlberg's character's reasoning for putting the pictures up, right? Because you will know who these guys are, and you will find them because this is Boston, and they will know these guys and find them.
Which is, I mean, here's a little controversy, but for that same reason that we're describing is one of the reasons why the movie wasn't really received well in Boston initially. People love it now, but the first, it didn't do well in the box office.
It didn't? I thought it did great. I don't know why. Maybe that's just because I loved it and I'm biased when I like a movie, and I'm always surprised when I find out it doesn't.
I was in it, but it went up against Star Wars Rogue One, and
Oof, that was a good one.
It might have been a little too soon after the tragedy. Now,
I felt like, I will say, I did feel like when it comes to movies, it came out quick.
Quick. Let me think. The thing happened in 2013. They released it January 12th, 2016, I think. Everybody I know has seen it now, but it took a while. It was they used to crank it on TNT, as well as HBO, I think.
Maybe it's a little too raw for the time, because I mean, and plus, like, right, it's a sort of, I don't want to say it's fictitious. It's not. It's like historical fiction, right? Because it's like Wahlberg's character is made up, and
plus you had the intertwined video of the real footage.
Yeah, he mixed in real footage.
They were fucking pro.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, that was really cool. Like,
special screening in Boston before the movie came out, where all the cast and crew was invited, and the survivors of the actual bombing were there. they were allowed to take the red carpet. They just felt it was right that they had a red carpet for the survivors of the bombings, but not the cast and crew. It is what it is, fine. But they didn't invite the two actors that played the Tsarnaev brothers because they just felt it was a little insensitive. Because the younger one, without even trying,
we were fucking talking about that. I was like, in a way, I was like, God, I was like, this
He really
it's got to
looks
be
like
rough
him.
for this fucking kid.
yeah,
Like,
he looks
when
just fucking like him, man.
Yeah.
His name's Alex Wolff. He's
Yep.
he's pretty goddamn successful now. He's in a lot.
No,
of
I was gonna say now he doesn't look like him. He's grown up. You know what I mean? Like he's but when they were, holy moly, I was like, oh, this kid's a dead ringer.
Yeah, yeah.
So they weren't invited. They were asked. It's not like
It's
they
probably
weren't invited. They were
triggering,
probably
you know what I
asked
mean?
not to come, right?
Like
Yeah, well, they went to
like
the
in a
special
situation like that where, of course, you know they're not bad guys, but celebrating them for being the people that did that to you is fucking weird. That's a psychological mindfuck.
Yeah, people are weird anyway. You never know. You never know. I can't say I have all these things figured out, but they just thought it was a bad idea. They went.
But if I had to go and shake the hand of the guy who played the guy who blew my fucking leg off, that would be weird.
Yeah. You make a great point, Paul. You make a great point. Oh shit! I can't believe I'm laughing at that. They were invited to the special screening in New York. They attended that.
Yeah.
There
were so many actors that were at the beginning of their careers back then that now Rachel Brosnahan, like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize that was her until I went back and watched the movie for this episode. I'm like, oh my God, Jimmy O Yang.
Yeah. Dun Ming.
Oh God. He was so good.
There was a kid named Jake Picking who was in Top Gun. He played Collier. Nice guy. There's another.
That's what he was in. Oh my God, you solved it, dude. You fixed it. You fixed the itch in my brain, Cliff. Thank you.
Michael Beach, who played the governor, he's in Mayor of Kingstown right now. He's who's actually the warden.
He's actually from Boston. He's from a place called Roxbury, which would be like our Bed-Stuy or something. Yeah. There was another Cinderella story. The guy who played Tamerlan Tsarnaev, who did a fucking good job.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Georgia, not Georgia.
That's the older brother?
Yeah, Tamerlan's the older brother.
I forget their first names.
Dimo Melakidze.
Bless
real
him.
nice guy. He's I guess he was in, I could be butchering this, but I think that he was in talks to be on the Georgian Taekwondo team in the Olympics, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And real nice guy. And he his acting resume was like a blank piece of paper. And they refused to see him for an audition. So his agent's like, you know what? We're gonna tape you anyway, and I'm gonna make sure they watch the fucking thing.
When you say refuse to see someone for an audition, what does that mean? I've never heard that before.
Well, because his acting resume was practically a blank piece of paper. He wasn't as far from being a star. Good looking kid, and crazy talented, obviously from the show, from the movie. But he just didn't have enough of his name. Didn't bring enough heat. I can't say who, but I actually beat out a couple names for this, which was kind of like.
Well, you're I mean, aside from your acting chops, you're a pretty close dead ringer for MacLellan.
Yeah.
You guys are pretty close, man.
Yeah.
Like in physical stature and look and everything.
You're better looking now.
Yeah, he's got black hair. And we both kind of got the chubby Irish bulldog aesthetic.
What do you work
here on him? You guys could say hello because you won't meet a nicer guy.
That's awesome.
But it's the same. We say the same thing about you, Betty.
Thank you.
Dude. So, what do you got going on now?
Power Book 3, Raising Kanan. I'll be in season 4.
Cool.
I'll be playing Detective Bruce Walton.
Nice.
That was cool. And I don't know, my bat's hitting the ball for some big stuff, but I can't. We'll see. We'll see.
See where it lands.
Until you sign the contract, the role's not yours.
Yeah, this is true. Man.
So there was a funny dynamic aside from the acting as I'm filming. And the funny dynamic was, I'm in my hometown again. I left here in 97. Everybody's grown up. And there was a lot of like, when I'm not filming, there's a lot of ghosts around every corner in a lot of memories. And a lot of people that I grew up with proud of me, and a lot of other people weren't, they didn't know how to be proud of me, but they couldn't see me as anything but Cliff, the bartender.
Right.
And, I had to confront that as well. And
what was that like? Because I know when I was just recently up in Boston working on Dead City, and I called you for some advice, you're like, dude, I don't know Boston anymore.
Yeah.
Like I used to.
Well, the Boston I know doesn't exist. When you walk down the street in Boston, it's like for you, Steve, walking down the street in New York.
Yeah.
Nobody's from here.
Yeah, yeah.
You too, Paul. Nobody's from here. The Boston I grew up in, everybody was from Boston.
Yeah.
And then, something happened. I think, the crack era happened. And after the crack era kind of went down, everybody's like, oh my God, these houses are so fucking cheap. People came from out of town, bought the houses up, especially the stuff that's on the waterfront. And now, a house that was $200,000 is $1.4 million.
Like when they're trying to rename Hell's Kitchen Clinton.
What that lasted about a half an hour, right?
Get the fuck out of here.
Or they were trying to they were trying to come up with a name for Long Island City. It was going to be like Midtown East or some other like I don't know, rebranding.
So as we all know, there's been an uptick.
What's the Cuomo, the Verrazano, right?
The Cuomo Bridge?
The Cuomo Bridge?
The Tappan Zee.
The Tappan Zee. Yeah. I know so many people are like the Tappan Zee. I'm like, with the Cuomo?
They rename all these things, and I still call them. I call them. I don't call it the RFK.
RFK.
It's a Triborough.
It's true. 59th Street.
59th Street, Triborough. See, I don't even fucking know.
It's a 59th Street.
That was a Triborough.
So, as we know, there's been an uptick in crime in New York City again, and every once in a while, someone will say to me, "Oh my God, it's just like the 80s and 90s." I go, no, it's not. If it was the 80s and 90s, you'd be able to get some fucking decent pizza. This place has some character.
It's different, right? I'm sure it's the same in Boston. It's like New York. Yeah, there's an uptick in crime. There's a lot of things that make one feel like they could say, oh, it's the 70s. And part of me says, oh, for all you assholes who romanticize the 70s and 80s, now you're getting a taste of it. What do you think now? But it's like...
It's not even that bad. Because, look, I remember when there was a time when, like, no joke, like the movie The Fucking Warriors. You don't go down into the subway unless you're planning on probably getting into some shit.
Yeah.
People don't remember that time in New York City where like the subway was for poor people. And like, if you had money and you look and you were on the subway, chances are you had some shit going down. Like you were probably going to get fucked with. Yeah. Like there was a time when every single subway car was filled with fucking graffiti.
We're edging our way back to that though.
Yeah.
The subway crime is at an all-time high for many, many years. But
I'm not even going to go into when I think it stopped and when I thought everything was fine. I'm not even going to go there.
I'm 49 years old. I was born in 75. I'm not from New York. I'm from Boston. So it's similar but different. But I know you guys relate. When people talk about the late 80s and early 90s, I get chills. I don't miss that shit. Bodies were dropping all over the fucking place. Bullets were whistling through the air. I am not exaggerating. And I'm not one to glamorize or glorify organized crime, but you always felt a little better when they were around because that was the only thing a street gang would listen to.
Well, dude, my wife was born.
You mean the people who were actually going to kill you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because they didn't mess with the old ladies and the kids and the elderly and taxpayers. Yeah.
Now, well, it's like Chris, my wife, when she was born and raised in Vegas, and there's a very strong feeling of that Vegas was better when the mob really ran it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because you have someone to fear. In a way of where not like. It's not like you fear the government. It's different when you fear a guy who doesn't care, who's going to crack you over the head with a fucking bat.
There's also a code, like you were pretty safe if you weren't part of that lexicon. The people that would fuck with them.
Like I would almost say that code that like the neighborhood had in A Bronx Tale.
The best way the best way I can put it, if you took all the lions out of Africa, you'd have nothing but hyenas, and that's what's running around now. A less honorable animal.
Mm-hmm.
But growing up in Boston, there were a lot of rules, in certain neighborhoods, and we did like the old days when the old ladies were safe and nobody, messed with the kids, and it wasn't perfect, but there wasn't random face lashings going on.
Yeah, like when they started calling it the knockout game, I'm like, it's not a game. It's felony assault. Like, stop
Yeah.
calling it a fucking game, and maybe kids will stop trying to do it.
No, it's not. It's not new either. That goes back 100 years at
Give
least.
me a fucking break.
Yeah, and it's not. It's not the bravest thing to do either. Yeah.
Sucker punching somebody? No.
No.
No. Dude, Cliff. Such a good dude, man.
Mr. Cuffer.
We got to get this fucker back in the gym.
You got to come back to
here.
the gym, you fucking asshole.
Oh, your favorite punching bag needs to come back.
I'm not gonna punch you. I'll just throw you.
I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna
slap
bring
me in the balls. You fucking kneel directly on my shin.
I won't bring you. I won't have you. You can't come to a striking class, but you can come to a kicking class. I don't want anything to do with your hands, bro.
No, if Cliff punches me, I'll be like a super. I'm just gonna take a knee. I'm just gonna be like, class is over,
wave
dude.
my
Class
hand
is
and be
over.
like, all right, guys, we'll talk next week.
Yo, is getting the color of my hair.
Yeah, man. Yo, Cliff, how can people follow you, man, if they want to keep up with this awesome Bostonian actor?
Instagram at Cliffama, CLIFFAMA.
Cool.
And you've got Power coming up. Anything else? What else you got? Any quick plugs?
No. Well, the business is funny right now. A lot of
Yeah.
movie stars are getting.
It's weird, but it feels like the train's about to start rolling.
Yeah,
rolling
I
through.
do too. The momentum's coming back. I see the breakdowns and things are starting to get busy again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the tide. It's high tide or low tide. So I think high tide's coming back.
Hopefully you catch a wave, brother.
Grab your fishing net.
Yeah.
But I met some lifelong friends on the set of Patriots Day. I want to give shout outs to.
Do it.
Yeah, go for it.
Paul Stamatopoulos, beautiful human being. Matt Kutcher Jr., beautiful human being. His father, Matt Kutcher Sr., and Zach Kutcher, also great guys. Rest in peace.
Who are they?
Those guys are the special effects guys.
Gotcha.
They're some of the best in the business. They've blown up a lot of your favorite, airplanes, boats, cars. Yeah, real nicest bunch of people. It's a family thing. And there was the guy that played Lieutenant, I think Evans, James Colby. He passed away about 4 years ago. Good, rest in peace. And that's that. Anybody I didn't name. Bless you too.
Everybody else. Sounds like an Oscar speech. And if I forgot you, thank you so much.
That's so funny.
Cool, Cliff. It's been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Gentlemen, thank you for having me. Look forward to seeing you in person.
Yo, say the line for us on the way out. Say the line.
Welcome to Watertown, motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's fucking great, dude.
All right, dude. Thanks again. Thanks to everybody tuning in. This is Fights with Friends. Fights with Friends is brought to you by Breakfall Studios and Press Record Studios. Executive producers Stephen Kepfer, Paul Veracci, and Tiago Benedetti. Produced by Matthew Kaplowitz. Associate producers Becca GT and Jared DeCrose. Our video editor is Matthew Kaplowitz. Original music by Aru Luster.